Hello everybody, welcome back to The Last Word here on Newcastle Fans TV in glorious 4K. Aren't you lucky? Aren't you lucky you get to see me, Lee and Sam here. And we've got Charlie as well, you might see.
You can see all my grey in my beard now, I don't like this.
And that's why I've got my hat on. You can see my hat really, really well. It's finished Newcastle United 2, AFC Bournemouth 2, and this is The Last Word. It is finished Newcastle United 2, AFC Bournemouth 2. Lee, finished Desmond, and it's just one of those flat feelings, even though we scored late on. Josh Bannion's in the background as well. He's just going to come and say hello, probably. He's just going for a glance. Have you got a one-word review of that?
Keep it clean.
One-word review.
Not good enough.
He gave you 3. That's how good he is. That's how good he is our Josh Bannion. Lee, let's start with the team news. No Alexander Isak, no Joe Willock, which we knew in the press conference yesterday. Anthony Gordon was the main man up front. Jacob Murphy was on the bench. No Callum Wilson. It was a bit of a mixed bag, wasn't it?
Sent the WhatsApp. I don't know if you've seen it again. I mean, we haven't got much choice. Good to see Harvey Barnes start. That's probably the positive from that as well. I don't think he had too much of an impact on the game, but he was asked to play a striker in that second role, and so was Murphy. But I feel like a broken record, Johnny. It's the same every week, but at least, thankfully, no one went off injured today. But
TBC was still waiting for Eddie Howe.
Yeah, and I'm tired of Eddie Howe saying the close. I just want bodies back now.
I counted 8 on my mate who I went with brought a programme, and I was counting 8 players, including Tonali, so 7 injuries and Tonali.
And to point out, great to see Joe White get his debut as well, because he looked a bit of energy, and I thought we lacked that towards the end of the game, so he'll be absolutely buzzing about that night, so there's another positive. Yeah,
Sam, when you look at AFC Bournemouth, you know, Areola's done a fantastic job so far. They're comfortably above the bottom 3, and at that point that'll take them even further away from the bottom 3. Dominic Solanke's the man that people will say he's the main man, he's the pillar for Bournemouth. Did anybody else really catch your eye when you look at the team news?
When I looked at the team news, no, not really. I mean, on Solanke, should have had 2 in the first half. Dúbravka's pulled off 2 amazing saves. But yeah, that team, yes, it has every right to have its moments, but there should be nothing on that team sheet that scares you as if you're Newcastle United. Nothing at all. Yeah, it was a bit of rinse and repeat from Luton, really. It's if you look at the game as a whole, it's disappointing, but you know, you take the point because you were down in the game going into stoppage time.
Yeah, certainly. And Lee, we'll start with the game itself, and Harvey Barnes, Anthony Gordon and Miguel Almiron. You're thinking, can they create? Can they get opportunities? Can they get in goal scoring opportunities? And look, Anthony Gordon and both Harvey Barnes have both had chances where they've gone well wide, and they've not really tested Neto. It was actually AFC Bournemouth that had the chances, and Tom Solanke, which obviously Sam's just mentioned there, had 2 real good opportunities. The first after a lovely ball which basically split our defence, and Botman is not slow, but even he was basically struggling for pace, and it was put on a plate for Dom Solanke just on the edge of the box, maybe even just inside the box, and it was a good save for Dúbravka, and that was the warning.
Yeah, it's happened in the last few games. I do want to talk about Dan Burn later, by the way. Yeah, they're very similar carbon copies, weren't they? I think Dúbravka's done himself massive favours, and I think he's actually been playing well, Dúbravka, the last half a dozen games. Yes, it's not Nick Pope, and the stats say that Nick Pope is the better goalkeeper, yes, but it's a second choice, you know, he's alright, but he kept it in the game there because those were the best 2 chances of the first half.
I think the second save's even better because it's coming up in close range, and it's great football from Bournemouth.
Just got to try and spread yourself and hope that it hits you, and it does. And Dúbravka's literally kept winning the game there, and it's just, there's been signs though the last few games that we're getting stretched like that, and it's happening too often. Look how many goals we're conceding.
Too many. Too many. 4 2 weeks ago, and then you've got 2 against Nottingham Forest.
It's unfathomable, really. They looked absolutely impregnable last season. It's just absolutely mind-boggling.
What's the issue? Who's at fault? What's the issue? What can we do to do better?
Look, you're gonna get people say Dan Burn, and eventually he was hooked, and Livramento came on and did quite well. Offered something different, but the same people would have said Dan Burn was an issue last season as well when we were impregnable. So it's a funny one. Obviously, we are missing Pope, but like Lee said, Dúbravka's a very, very adept number 2. It's just, I know he's number 1, pulling me up on squad numbers. Lost my train of thought now.
Got a new quiz champion, haven't we, Charlie?
Yeah, so it's one of them. There's something missing between the defence and the midfield. It's very, very easy for teams to come in now, play between the lines, distribute it out wide, get behind our back four. It's really, really concerning.
It really is, but Lee, I'm going to say the same thing I said against Nottingham Forest, the same thing I said against Luton. We haven't got any protection between the midfield and the defence. We haven't got somebody that can just sit in there and clear everything up and allow the likes of Bruno and Longstaff, whoever, to go forward. We haven't got that player, and that's what we're really crying out for now. I know we haven't got the midfield options at this moment in time, but what can we do in the immediate to combat this? Because with the greatest of respect, Luton, Nottingham Forest and Bournemouth have all had joy against our defence today. We've conceded 8 goals in the last 4 games. It's not good enough against these 3 teams with the greatest of respect.
And Bournemouth before today only picked up 2 points from the last 5 fixtures. And out you mentioned those 3 teams that with 18 points available, we've picked up 5 against teams that are struggling at the bottom end of the seasons.
And how many points in Newcastle the top 4? 12, 13 points?
I think the inconsistency is why, yes, you can go on about injuries and that, but to your question, obviously Eddie Howe has put Miley now is the deepest, and I actually thought in possession he was actually probably one of the better players in possession, but Dan Burns getting rinsed. Now, I've had enough now. He's got to come out the side. For me, next week against Arsenal, if he stays on the side, you've got to go win backs and put Tino to left.
It'll be really interesting to see what happens. But
that is an option now. That is an option to go to a back 5, which is incredibly depressing.
Is that an Eddie Howe style of play?
Yeah, but look,
because he's been doing it to close the games out.
But from the start.
This time last year, he wouldn't have entertained the idea.
Does he entertain the idea? Because you're quite rightly, it is Arsenal away.
Is he Dan Burn against Saka?
Shut him out last season.
He did, but I think he's struggling the last few games for pace, and I don't want to just pile on Dan Burn because I agree. I skipped Dan Burn last season. I thought the back 4 were brilliant. I agree. There's no protection, and you're probably thinking there's an Italian there who's banned who would be perfect right now. But we say this every week. But Miley's played there. Bruno's played there. Bruno's coming forward. Sean Longstaff had a spell there protecting the back 4. I don't know. Do you play 2 CDMs instead? Look at that. But I think realistically, Arsenal away next weekend is a very, very tough game. They battered West Ham, didn't they?
They've beaten Burnley. There's a little sneak preview for after the last where they won 5-0 at Burnley.
Do you know what? If he goes 5 at the back, I'm alright with that. I understand.
We'll see what happens. That's more for next week. But look, it was 0 at half time. I have to be honest, and I'm just going to say, as we're talking about the defence, just very, very briefly, I thought Sven Botman was out muscled by Dom Solanke today. I don't think Dom Solanke is a £60 million striker by any stretch of the imagination. But to Bournemouth, he's probably worth that much because of what Bournemouth value on it.
You take his goals away from Bournemouth, they're on the relegation box.
Exactly. But that's a separate issue. Second half started, Lee, and it was a case of right. Newcastle actually started pretty well. Gordon was getting involved a little bit more. The crowd was getting involved a little bit more. Barnes was coming through down the middle. But it's so unfortunate for Martin Dúbravka because Dan Burn plays the ball back to the goalkeeper, which he does probably about 30 times a game. But it's the one time where it slips. Well, he slips and Solanke can't miss. It is just one of those things, and you blame Dúbravka because ultimately it is his fault, but you can't blame him for slipping.
I literally said that the kid who was sat next to me today in UK against. He's to blame, but he's not to blame at the same time. He just literally kept in the game in the first half, and he slips at the wrong time. It actually just started to rain, literally 5 minutes before then, and then when we conceded, it stopped raining, and then it came back down again. I'm like, yeah, when he looks against you, it's just. Look, I just want to talk about it. Obviously, Howe at half-time tweaked it because he moved Gordon, because Gordon wasn't getting enough joy out wide, and he put Harvey Barnes up front. Didn't do anything, and never did Jacob Murphy, who hasn't trained all week to his credit, but. It's just so unfortunate. I mean, what can you do when your studs go?
Yeah. No, it happens, and I have to say, Mickey had an opportunity. I think it was either just before or just after that, where he cuts in from the right and he has a shot on the edge of the box. Anthony Gordon's an 8 is the decision making again. It's not the first time I said that about Miguel Almiron, but Sam. Newcastle got back into it, and you had the best view of everything because I have to be honest, I was assuming the reason why they were looking for the penalty was for grappling and holding down. I did see somebody down. I think it might have been Bruno. But
it was Fabian Schär.
Fabian Schär.
It was Schär. I can't remember the name of the Bournemouth player who had a good couple handfuls on him. But yeah, dragged Schär down. Offside was given, which was odd. And then a lengthy VAR check ensued. I was reasonably confident it was going to be given a penalty, but the only for the challenge on its own, but the doubt in my mind was, at the end of the day, the lineo's flagged for offside. So if it's offside, that completely negates your penalty call. So that was the only cause for concern on that decision. But it was given. The players knew it was going to be given quite some time before the referee did. Make of that what you will. Mr. Salisbury needs to go back to referee school for a bit. Gordon took the ball, moved away from...
Were you expecting Gordon?
Yeah, because there's just no one else, is there?
I was thinking Trippier out the back of my head.
No, I think Gordon would have the right as the kind of... Well, I know Barnes started the second half up front, but that was completely ineffective. But yeah, Gordon, it was the right call, and he tucked it past Neto, who was time wasting the whole game, and it was a confusing one, which you said when we were speaking in the match reaction earlier. A sign of that referee's weakness today was Neto. How has he come off the pitch not having received a yellow card?
Because it's the tricks of the trade, and we've seen it last year.
We did it all last season.
That's what I'm saying.
And we picked up bookings left, right, and centre for it.
But because like I say, as we said in match reaction, Lee, it's weak refereeing. We say this week in, week out, and we'll stick the newest referee on the block. Oh, we'll put the Newcastle versus Bournemouth. No one who really cares about it. It cares to the Newcastle fans. It cares to the Bournemouth fans. Be strong in your officiating. It's so many, like there was one challenge on Bruno, which I've been told it looked a bit innocuous, but it actually could have been given as a red card. He gave it yellow, but he didn't. It wasn't even a case of
very innocuous.
Yeah, he's trying so hard not to get a yellow card, because he said in his post-match last week. But
six games to go now for Bruno to make sure he can get away with it.
Having said that, though, without VAR today, we don't get that penalty. So it kind of counts your argument, doesn't it? So we twist to get when it goes against you, and we twist when it goes for you. Love it. Look, the right decision was made, but it took a long decision. That's another debate, that is how long it took, but the right decision. But referee, apart from the VAR helping him, didn't have a great game, but he's new, isn't he?
Yeah, definitely. Well, Sam's got two of his kids with us today, but I'm going to.
Yeah,
you've got two kids, but I need you to talk to us about the second Bournemouth goal. And it was a case of, I said this in the match reaction, I don't know whether you agree, disagree, it was a case of in 62 minutes, where it was like the 89th minute, and we were going a bit gung-ho, and Bournemouth got on the counter-attack, and Semenyo, he was a real threat all afternoon, and it's a fantastic finish.
He was a thorn in the whole defence's side. Him and Schär were having some tangles earlier on in the game too, but yeah, Dan Burn's been exposed, and it's a tidy finish, to be fair, and it was just an absolute sucker punch. We got done on the counter, like you say. We committed probably a few too many men forward, but we were going for it. We just got back in the game. We had control of the game for the first time, really. It was pretty nip and tuck the whole way of the first half. Bournemouth, for me, probably had the better of it.
No, I agree, but were Newcastle naive at that point?
There's a lot of that at the moment, isn't there? There was a bit of it at Forest. There's a lot of it against Luton. We're not learning, I suppose, but it
Question.
Managed the game, though, isn't it, Lee?
Why does he pull Dan Burn off straight after?
I think that's the big thing.
Because he knows.
But if he knows why he's not taking him off half time, they're not starting him.
The first thing Tino did is get up the pitch and put a cross in, and nobody got the end of it. It's like, for me, as much as I love Dan Burn, he's got to come out of that now, left back.
Just to take him out the firing line, if nothing else.
Even if it's wing backs, but I just want to say as well, before anyone jumps on my back, is that it wasn't all Dan Burn's fault, because there was no protection there, and the lad takes it really well. It's a great finish, proper old school winger. Put it on the outside, whack it low, and it's a great goal.
Yeah.
But the amount of times that's happening consistently against fast wingers this season, in particular the last month against teams lower end, the bottom end of he's getting done, and it's not just that. Who's in front of him helping him? There's no doubling up either. So you've got to look at Anthony Gordon, you've got to look at Miggy, who had a spell out there. Where's the help? And for me, that's a problem now. It is a problem, and it's growing bigger and bigger, and I don't want it to be the scapegoat, because he will be tonight. Tino
Livramento, if he does start next week against Bukayo Saka, now
do it.
You want him to start, but I can't. You can look at two sides of the coin. You go into the game because we want you to start. We want you to improve the team going into this game, because it's going to be a tough game. But it's almost like what's he expected to do? Because it's Arsenal. They're on full.
That's why I think wing backs will be fine, because in possession you can go 3 at the back and move Tino up. Out of possession, have your 5, because
Is that because can't see it with Eddie Howe? Like I don't disagree with both of you saying. I just can't see Eddie Howe doing that. It's just not the Eddie Howe way. He wasn't doing 5 at the back when he had Kieran Clark and Federico Fernandez against Man City.
He will be the scapegoat underneath Dan Burn, but it's Callum Wilson the other day because he's got injured. And Callum Wilson, I don't know what anyone says, that's a fantastic goal scoring record. Try to stick up him for my own Twitter, but he's injury prone and Isaac's not helping either at the minute. I know he's great and I know Sam loves him, but none of them can play 5 consecutive games at the minute. So we need bodies.
I saw a stat on Twitter the other day. In his 2 seasons at Newcastle, Isaac's now been injured for the same amount of time as he was for the previous 8 seasons when he played for Sociedad Dortmund. So I don't know, and the injuries we've had in and around our club this season, I know quite a lot of clubs have been fairly similar, but ours has been the worst, let's face it. There must be some kind of contributing factor in that training ground, or
we're just sick of it now. We're sick of it now.
I just want to say injuries are not the reason why we didn't win today.
No, 100%.
That team that's out there should have won.
No, we missed a focal point up top, I thought.
We did, but
we scored 2 goals.
But again, without Isaac and Wilson, should we, with the players that we had today, should that be beating Bournemouth at home? I'm saying yes. You can agree or disagree in the comments below.
We talk about Matt Ritchie.
Well, that is exactly where I was leading to. I'll get both your views on this, but Sam, we were running out of ideas. We weren't gambling, but Eddie Howe did put a bit of a gamble on. He brought Ritchie on, he brought Joe White on making his debut, which was great to see. Another Geordie boy having a debut, which is good to see. But
Carlisle.
But I'm classing him as a Geordie boy. I don't care.
Close enough, isn't it?
Close enough. But in all seriousness, Sam, Matt Ritchie gambles, the former Bournemouth man. I never thought I'd see Matt Ritchie score again for Newcastle, but I did from 1 yard out. And I think on balance, it's the least we deserved in terms of the overall game. But it's great to see Matt Ritchie scoring goals for Newcastle.
Yeah, I couldn't believe my eyes when I saw Ritchie and White come on and like not Lewis Hall. What he's done, I have no idea, but he's just not getting a sniff. It's mind-boggling, but yeah, Matt Ritchie and Joe White, they both did really well when they came on. Joe White had some lovely touches, looked calm, composed on the ball, really good, replaced Miley, who I thought was great today. Again, individually, the midfield's doing okay, but as a unit, it ain't there, it ain't happening. But yeah, Matt Ritchie. Charlie, describe the goal.
How good was that goal?
Really good. So they missed at first, but then Matt Ritchie just ran in and came in and got on the volley, I think, and got buried it top bins.
He did really, really well, Lee.
What was funny about that is that obviously the referee was pointing, you've got to put it back, and then the ball girl did. Yeah. But I don't know if you used to have seen it, but actually some guy from the groundsman actually took the corner flag out and put a new one in as well. That was quite funny.
But it's so nice to see that again, even if it is a bit of a Renaissance swan song, just to see the corner. And it meant you can tell it meant a lot to Ritchie, because back in the day when he was a first team player and had every game management in his mind, he wouldn't have gone to the corner flag. He would have picked the ball up and gone back to the halfway line.
I think he knows that's his last season in Newcastle, so he doesn't know if it's going to be his last goal.
Yeah, so he deserves it. He's one of the most important players we've had over the past 10 years. So
on the vlog, you'll see that Tyndall and Ritchie are all like this, laughing at each other, walking off as they go on the lap of appreciation. So obviously it means a lot for him. And being a good servant, he's obviously done a bit of coaching with the under 18s and that. So. But I expect him to leave in the summer, but great for him.
Yeah, even though he's leaving in the summer, he's staying for another 10 years. It did finish Newcastle 2, Bournemouth 2, and the former Bournemouth manager, but now the current Newcastle United manager, Eddie Howe, will tell you all about his thoughts about today's game.
When a goalkeeper slips, of course, it can be fatal in respect of conceding a goal. I thought he did really well to rebound from that and still play an important part in the game for us. Not in touch with the process really. I didn't see the incident. I haven't seen the VAR pictures, so I've got no idea sort of what happened. I was amazed at the delay and the length. Someone might tell me that there was a good reason for that. I'm not sure. Any decisions should take that long. And as you say, Anthony's done really well, because despite the time, he's composed himself and finished it nicely. Well, yeah, I mean, he's an incredible professional. I can't speak highly enough of him. Off the pitch this year and on the pitch, I've always said to him, I still feel he has a part to play and he has a lot to offer. He's a very, very creative player. He's got an unbelievable left foot, and that was probably a very un-Matt Ritchie-like goal. I don't think he'd have got many of those, especially if the header had gone in direct. But delighted he got rewarded really for all that he's given us this season.
And we are back. we'll go through the Premier League table first, because I know there's a big story in the background in terms of Dan Ashworth, and I would like to get Lee and Sam's views on this. So this is your current Premier League table. There's been 7 games in total. We don't wins for Liverpool in the early kick-off, wins for Arsenal, who we play next, which we'll discuss later. They beat Burnley by 5-0. Nottingham Forest beat West Ham by 2-0. Aston Villa got a big away win against Fulham at the Cottage. They won by 2-1. And the other game was Tottenham 1, Wolves 2. Wolves come to St James's in a couple of weeks. Lee, the Premier League table, I think Newcastle will still be 7th. They're 4 points off Manchester United before they take on Luton at the Kenilworth Road tomorrow. But West Ham didn't win, Brighton didn't win, Wolves did. Wolves are catching us up again. I think they're still a couple of points behind us, but we're just not good enough to be really getting any sort of consistent run to even think like the top 4, the top 5, thinking, oh, Newcastle are coming. We're literally deserved to where we be right now in a brace for 7th.
Those teams around it are all win, draw, lose, win, draw, lose. They're not putting any consistency in. Man United, Brighton, all around. You actually look at Brighton, it's actually form the last, I think, something like 20 games. They haven't won many. Us, the same. So we'll probably be all averaging 4 to 5 points every 3 games, which we should hopefully qualify for Europe. I just hope Liverpool do beat Chelsea, because if Chelsea win, they go to Europe in the Cup final. It's still early doors. We've still got obviously the FA Cup away to Blackburn. We've still got obviously the conference.
Do you know it's sack off the Premier League and focus on the FA Cup?
No, because like if the Premier League, if the FA Cup doesn't happen, obviously we can't expect it.
It is.
We need European football next season. I agree, FA Cup is the priority, but you can't just say, oh, let's sack off the Premier League.
Okay, maybe
7th would still represent a pretty good season.
Possibly, but again, 7th or 8th. The Premier League at this moment in time isn't the ultimate priority, Lee. Maybe sack it off. Maybe sack it off isn't the right terminology, but at this moment in time, we have got Blackburn Rovers here in the Championship. We've just changed manager near the bottom of the Championship for a place in the quarterfinals. We have got a very good opportunity, draw depending, to get to Wembley again. We're 2 games away.
I don't think you can sack it off. I think FA Cup is more priority, because we beat Blackburn, which we should realistically do. Even if you rotate to 1 or 2 players, we should be getting through that tie, because if you're not, there's something wrong. But look, the whole season has just been marred with injuries, inconsistency, tiredness, because it was initially. Can't keep using that excuses anymore. We've said that, and we just hope that we'll get the likes of Joe Willock and Isak back in a couple of games' time and start climbing the table. And 8th might even get Europe, depending on if Liverpool beat Chelsea. So I hope they do. But
who knows?
Who knows? It's a difficult one, because no one's putting a run in together.
No. The big story of the week, we'll get both Lee and Sam's thoughts, and I'll even drop my opinion on it. Dan Ashworth, I'll start with you, Sam. He's on his way to Manchester United. I think the whole footballing world knows he's on his way to Manchester United, but there hasn't been an official approach. But there has been an approach. We all know there's been an approach, but it just hasn't been confirmed. I don't know whether Dan Ashworth was at St James's Park this afternoon.
It was yesterday when we finished the tour. For context, we've been here all week because it's Charlie's birthday on
Happy
Tuesday.
birthday, Charlie, on Tuesday.
Yeah, so we did the tour yesterday and we went to the training ground Thursday and whatever. So as we were finishing the tour, actually, we were coming out just there, come down the steps, and Dan Ashworth was on his phone getting into a taxi.
Is that to Manchester by any chance?
I mean, who knows? It could have been to the airport to Manchester.
Yeah,
But
Manchester.
I kind of resisted the urge to shout something, so I just did. I ended up doing just like a at him, which, I mean, cover your ears.
Charlie, what's that over there?
Fuck him.
Yeah,
Fuck him. At the end of the day, if you don't want to be here and do half a job, I saw Henry Winter, friend of the channel, say, Ashworth loves a project. Well, clearly not, because he's just done half a job here. So let him go. I hope Newcastle make it as difficult as possible for him to leave, like they did with us and when we needed them for a loan or whatever, that Lingard, but thank God we didn't get him. I hope we make it as difficult as possible, and I hope he falls flat on his arse. And that's not being bitter, that's being... Well, no, it is being a bit bitter. There's no getting away from that. But, that's football. But people come and go, the wheel keeps on turning. Newcastle will continue to move forward. He's not the only technical director of football, whatever you want to call him these days, in the world. There are some pretty slick operators out there that are available to come in and replace him. So, fuck him.
What's your thoughts on it? Because, again, I've got my own views and I will mention it in a second, but are Manchester United getting the better end of the deal, or does it all depend on the financial side of things? Because we all know he's going, we just don't know when and how much, because at this moment in time, I think Eddie Howe said in his press conference, and it was again very similar to what Sam's saying.
You'll have to ask him.
Yeah, I get, but I think Eddie Howe secretly would be like, well, if he wants to go, let him go. We want people that are here for the long term at Newcastle.
Yeah, but if I've seen him as well. We've both seen him this week. I've seen him Thursday just outside of the construction site, 9:15 in the morning, ironically on his phone. And yes, I am taller than him, Sam, for the record. However, what's the figure? 10 million? That's a lot. It's like a transfer fee, isn't it? Would he be put on gardening leave? For me, if he goes, he shows no loyalty. Because...
It's not like Roy Keane.
But it's true though, he hasn't been here 2 years yet. He was put on garden leave by Brighton. Have we really seen the effects? Maybe to some extent the women's, because the Botman deal was already done before him, really, let's be honest.
Bruno deal was done.
I think the Isaac one's probably already in motion behind the scenes, so we might not see hopefully one of the two lads that were signed the last 18 months in the 21s kick on and make the first team, because we might not even see any effect really. The women's is probably the big thing going pro, and he's pushed that. And
will we miss him?
No, too short of a tenure.
I think that's a fair point. Look, I think my 50 pence on it is that very similar to both. He hasn't been here long enough to kind of really make a massive impact. People can go with how good he is. He's obviously a good operator. People obviously have worked with him previously, and you've got people that have been in the game for such a long time that have said he's a good operator. I don't disagree with that. But right now, what has he done that you can go, right, Dan Ashworth has done this difference at Newcastle United? If he gets more opportunity to do that at Manchester United, that's a different conversation altogether. But Newcastle is still a very, very attractive project. We're still a club on the up, and we're disappointed that we haven't beat Bournemouth at home, but we're still 7th in the Premier League. There's still scope and opportunity for Newcastle United to do very well. And I'm very similar to what Sam says. If Dan Ashworth wants to go, then fuck him, let him go. Because
as Ferdinand did, man.
Exactly.
Get Big Les in.
Yeah. Sir Les, Michael Edwards, and a couple of names as well.
The only thing you could point to for Ashworth is the youth players that we've signed. As you say, the major deals were our best window since the takeover was done before he got here. But like the youth aspect is what you could look at in the future, but time will tell. But Michael Edwards is available, and people like that. This is Newcastle Fans TV, not a crash.
It's not Todd's TV.
I think the kids are getting restless. So.
No, literally all I'm going to say...
Are you at the women tomorrow?
I am at the women's, so I just want to say one last thing on Dan Ashworth, because I do appreciate that they want to go very, very quickly, is that if Manchester United want him in the summer, pay £10-15 million more, because I'm telling you, it was a disgrace what they did to Martin Dúbravka. It was a disgrace what they did with Jesse Lingard. And quite frankly, if Manchester United think they can cherry pick and get whoever they want, maybe they can, but they're going to have to pay top dollar for the best person in the business if everyone thinks he is.
Charlie with the last word.
Yeah, we're going to give Charlie the option for man of the match just very, very quickly.
Oh, I know, because I know who he's going to go for. Women's game tomorrow. Me and Lee will be there. It's Newcastle versus Derby. All the best to Becky on the side. They've got Portsmouth a week tomorrow. Make sure you grab your tickets. £5 for an adult, £1 for a child of concession. So make sure you park St James's Park out. It's Arsenal next week. In one word, can Newcastle win that game next week?
No.
Okay, well, enjoy your trip down to London and then come back to Newcastle.
You said one word.
Charlie,
I'll go in belief.
You go in belief. Charlie, you've got the absolute honour and privilege. Who is Newcastle's man of the match today?
Matt Ritchie, 100%!
I'll tell you what, he's not wrong, is he?
It's his birthday, so you can't argue with him.
Exactly, Matt Ritchie, man of the match in Newcastle. Wish Charlie a happy birthday in the comments below. That'd be really, really nice as well.
What should everybody do, Charlie?
Like the video and subscribe!
I couldn't end it better myself. Have a good weekend, guys. All the best.